So Ronak,
Yes, sir.
you are a CA, right?
Yes, sir.
You're a qualified CA. You're working somewhere?
So right now I'm teaching economics to the CA Foundation and inter students.
So you didn't try to go for any professional job?
No, sir. So right from the beginning, from my class 12, I was clear that I will be going for UPSC. But sir, I wanted to do. We know as difficult as this exam is, I wanted to keep CA as a fallback provision. And some moreover, commerce was something which was of interest to me.
So you know you were a gold medalist also, right?
Yes, sir.
In CA?
St. Xavier's. No, sir. In CA, I was rank holder all over India.
Rank holder.
And
That's itself. I think CA is supposed to be the toughest exam of this country.
So they say so, but there are different criteria and
So
different.
you didn't think about going towards professional career in the field of commerce.
No, sir. I was pre-decided that I won't be going into a professional career, even if God forbid, if this doesn't fructify, I'll be going for my business and my teaching profession. Teaching is both my profession as hobby right now.
Okay. So you are from Calcutta, right?
Yes, sir.
You're born and brought up in Calcutta.
Yes, sir.
Tell me something. Calcutta is supposed to be a metropolitan city. Why? But still, it's not yet developed. Why Calcutta is so regressive?
Sir, there was even a saying wherein Mr. Rajiv Gandhi had said that Calcutta is a dying city. So the thing is that it was not such before. In the colonial era, Calcutta was the hub of economic activities.
Yeah.
But right after the partition of Bengal in 1905, and then after shifting of the capital in 1911, moreover, after the final partition of India in 1947, the entire situation changed because jute, which was the prime source of economy, the jute producing areas went to Bangladesh, East Pakistan, and jute mills remained in Bengal. So we couldn't do anything with that. Moreover, after that, around 34 years we were in the left rule. There were some great land reforms, but because of that, there was a trust deficit with the private sector. So the capital investment couldn't actually become reality. Then Tatas came in, and again there was some tussle with them. So this entire trust deficit is something which is pulling back the economic development of Calcutta and Bengal as a whole.
But then people say that the very mentality of West Bengal people are regressive. They don't want to work. They are always like one hand Cholvena and second hand is red flag. So why is that so?
Sir, it's being about a prisoner of the past because we know still today Calcutta and Bengal per se is only city which has 6 Nobel laureates. So it's not that it is regressive per se, but the mindset has different views. Economic development is not there, but still Kolkata is the cultural capital of India. Like just an example, a friend of mine from Bhopal, if I just met him for the first time, he said that I only picturized a person from Bengal to be an intellectual reading newspaper. So the people from Bengal are still counted as intellectuals, but then there are some evils and the ills as well.
Should tram be closed?
What's that?
Tram services in Calcutta be closed?
Trams, okay. So it's Calcutta, trams is something which is unique to Calcutta. It is colonial legacy and also a tourism spot. Many people actually come to Calcutta. When they come to Calcutta, they want to sit in the travel to trams. We have actually shifted to electronic trams and the long trams have actually been air conditioned and become more mobile. It should not be closed. Definitely, it is not as efficient as the other modes of transport, but it's a tourism spot, and I don't think it should be totally done away with.
But I've been to Calcutta a couple of times, and what I have seen that because of this tram, there is long traffic jam. Roads are still quite old, and they are not as smooth as they are supposed to be in 21st century, and that's just because of the rail track of tram. What would you like to do with the tram?
So it is not only because of trams. The traffic in Calcutta has always been like that. Even today, because of the unplanned urbanization is the main reason. Because the British, they planned it for their own good. It was good for the city per se, but we haven't revised that according to the terms and of the requirements of 21st century. That is a problem. But trams as such is not the reason, because what you are referring to, it was a case, but not now anymore, because those long trams of 4 to 5 bogies, that has been now reduced to just 1 or 2 bogies. So that is not the case anymore, and I think trams, whatever could have been done with the trams, it could be digitized, it could be made more efficient. But I do not prefer, according to me, to totally do away with the trams.
Okay,
The
there
road
has
needs to
been
be
this
managed.
rhetoric. I don't know. I mean, what is the reality in that? There's a huge infiltration from Bangladesh to Bengal, which is changing the demography of West Bengal. What is the reality? And if there indeed is the case, then what should be done?
So this started again in 1947 when the partition of Bengal happened due to partition of India. So many of the people from East Pakistan wanted to shift to Calcutta and Bengal. So today, definitely we have situations wherein there have been, due to the porous borders and due to the riverine borders of between Bengal and Bangladesh, various people are actually infiltrating to Bengal. But according to me, it's because of the low level of security forces or low level of equipment of the BSF and low economic development on Bangladesh side. But as we are now getting the updates, it might be the reverse in future, because Bangladesh, they are doing wonders with their economy. It's not that it is a perennial problem. This is something which is the reality of each and every porous border. Like even the US cannot stop people from coming to their borders. So it's not that it is a problem per se. It's true that the mix has changed to a certain extent, but again, this is something which we have always looked upon, because India has been welcoming to the refugees in the long run.
Okay, West Bengal for me is like, really a dead state economically, also on all social indicators as well. Your take on it, and what corrective measures that you would like to take?
So Mr. Gukhil had said that what Bengal thinks today, India thinks tomorrow. But because of the reasons I told you, it's not anymore. But Calcutta again is the cultural capital of India. We should actually try to capitalize on the tourism industry. Second, because of various summits like Bengal Leads and various other measures by the present government, the trust deficit has been part to a certain extent. But according to me, something more needs to be done to invite the capitalist class into the state, as was mentioned in the economic survey, to maintain the invisible hand of market and trust. That is more important. So thirdly, again, it's not a dead state, because Bengal, again, there is no communal violence per se. There is no call for Bengal for Bengalis as is in other states. So we need to capitalize on that. Tourism is something which is very important. Bengal has the largest number of MSMEs in India. We should try to complement that with Skill India and with Assemble in India. Like Apple is opening its factory in Hyderabad, why not in Bengal? So these steps can actually lead to better improvement.
So you are from Bengal, right?
Yes.
So beyond Bengal, right, we have northeastern states. How many states are there? Northeastern states?
8,
8, including Sikkim.
including Sikkim.
Right. So these northeastern states have a very close connection with Bengal, right? I come from that area, so I am very adjacent to conversant with Bengal. So what I have seen is that over the years, if you look at Tripura, it's a very prominent state of northeast. Its geography, particularly the demography. Demography has changed. Why do you think that? What is the main reason behind that?
Behind the change of democracy,
Right.
demography of Tripura.
Tripura, right?
So, like there are 2 or 3 reasons. One is the ongoing brew issue, but that has been settled now. That was an issue.
Right.
Second was the movement of people from Bangladesh to adjacent areas. That was another reason. So these 2 were the main reasons for the change in demography.
Right. So let us. What is your optional in UPSC? Commerce and
Commerce and
accountancy. If we look at today American election, right? It is around the corner now. Campaigns have started, right? It's a long campaign. What do you think? What is the prospect of Donald Trump again getting re-elected? Do you think he's going to come back?
So it needs to be seen. We cannot predict anything, but according to me, given the current protectionism going on in the world, and given the divide in the Democrats, because even there was options that Joe Biden or there was another Barry, I'm forgetting that name. Like there was rumors that they might be coming as the forefront in Iowa.
Iowa, right.
But again, but Veach is actually in the forefront. We cannot say that. But because of protectionism and because whatever Trump had promised in his election in manifesto before, most of those have been to a certain extent fulfilled. The economy is again on the turnaround. The employment has to some extent increased. So according to me, he might come back.
He might come back. So coming back to coming to Europe side, we have seen now entire European Union, 28 member league. Now one is departing gradually, and it is going to happen. So what do you think Europe's dominance in world politics? If you look at now, in fact, if you look at Iran nuclear pact, right? What has happened now? European Union is on the line. America has withdrawn, right? But still that nuclear civil nuclear thing is not happening properly because America has withdrawn. If you look at the whole global politics, what we see is that if America is not there, things do not work. And in that case, European Union's receding importance in world politics, do you think it is going to stay like this or it is going to be re-energized once again?
So US, the entire system started from the bipolar of the Cold War, then came to the unipolar of US. Now it's multipolar. We are speaking of the Asian century. It's not only Europe now. We are speaking of the Asian century. So the tripod is actually formed by India, China, US. Speaking of European Union and Europe per se, they were the forebringers of Renaissance. They actually started industrial revolution. But then US and Russia and China got onto the path quite vehemently. And the economic power which China has right now and which the options which India has right now, these are the demographic dividend. These are something which can again outpass Europe. Now, most of the European countries are high on the HDI, high on the standard of living, but they are not into the politics scenario as such. So they won't be receding back. They won't be coming again into the picture because they are happy with themselves. They are good on the trade front. Again, European Union is still on the second combined in terms of GDP. Right. So I don't think they are much into this power play of the world right now, but we do not know the future.
Right. So coming up to Africa side, if you look at, there are two Islamic militant groups. They are quite a big trouble in Africa, right? Are you aware about these two groups? Very famous. They are very dangerous, in fact.
So I'm not able to recall right
These
now.
are, one of them is Al-Shabaab, right? It's in Somalia. Other one is Boko Haram in Nigeria, right? If you look at the Islamic militancy across the world, do you think it is rising or it is receding? Starting from Al-Qaeda, Islamic State, Boko Haram, these are all Islamic militant groups, right? Including Taliban, including Pakistan, Lashkar-e-Taiba. Do you think they are rising? 20 years back, scene was different, and today, do you think they are rising or receding?
So when they started, the entire world terrorism did not revolve around Islam. There was different other pictures, different other things into play. Right now, because of the groups you mentioned, terrorism has now been connected to Islam somehow. It's neither because there are some victories on the part of ISIS, some on the part of US and other world powers. But again, although ISIS is receding, we still have the terror attacks we had just now in Australia, New Zealand, we had in Sri Lanka. So it's not that it is receding, but due to the enhanced fronts on FATF of UN, some additional measures have been taken. But I don't think it's receding per se because their power still remains dominant and we do not know who is replaced by who. Like
how to handle that?
What is the measure you will suggest?
What is the measure that you would suggest?
Future bureaucrat, being maybe an ambassador, high commissioner, or being a police officer, what you do suggest?
So first of all, I would like to de-link Islam from terrorism. It's not that Islamists are terrorists.
Definitely not.
So that view has to be cleared in the entire world. Second, the CCIT, Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism, which we had proposed, that needs to be into play. But we do not, I don't think that it will come very soon because US itself is a party to that. So that is something which needs to be done. Third, what we can do is for the internal security, like the border issues, the CIBMS, that is the Comprehensive Integrated Border Management System. These are some of the roles which we can take. But and like again, we have the digital safety measures. These are some of the measures which we can take for this terrorism.
What should be done for to tackle radicalization?
So there has about this only, various people are raising voice that the Kashmiris, the Islamist fundamentalists need to be de-radicalized in that case. So one is that, according to me, again, we are linking that to a religion that needs to be, that clout needs to be cleared. Second, so we need to mainstream them to the society.
How?
Direct talks is something which is important. Again,
Direct talks
is important because, for example, Article 370, that was something which needed to be done, according to me, be it sooner or later. The method was a bit harsh and over the mark, but we have to accept that there are some fundamentalists, some other parties into play. So we need to take some stringent actions also, diplomatically and politically. But according to me, talks is something which will at least bring that matter to the table, and then we can discuss about it.
Okay, out of these three services that we are there in UPSC list, job, IAS, IFS and IPS, okay. And there are a lot of documentary, kind of evidence, not evidence, writings available as of today, in fact. When these three people meet, an IAS, an IFS and an IPS, IPS officer is still been, seen in the format of a daroga. He's the man who's in uniform, he is there. And a diplomat is a diplomat, okay. And an IAS officer is the one who will be very close to the minister and he will be making policies. And this, even in the defense ministry, the secretary is an IAS officer, not a policeman or from army. Why this colonial practice is still on? Do you think there should be a change? Because all of them, they do their duties equally, right? These are top three jobs. Do you think there should be a change in the colonial mindset and how we do it?
So, as we speak of separation of powers on the Indian front, similarly here there is separation of powers. The IAS is actually managing on the ground of various other all the other roles is managed by the IAS. So the mindset is because for example, IAS is sitting at the top. Even police service is reported to an IAS to a certain extent. Then IFS does not have any link with the Indian people. So an ambassador might do great job for Indian diplomacy with the other countries, but he or she is not seen into the eyes of the people. So according to me, the mindset is something which is still inborn because of the teachers, the tuition centers, the service personnel there per se. So just an example, my friend, he is a son of an IPS. So he himself told me, not IAS and IPS, he told me about IPS and IRS. When a meeting occurs, there is a change in mindset. That can only be brought to a change if that anonymity, something, is compromised to a certain extent. I'm not saying that they need to be politicized or advertised, but the role has to be explained. The role which IPS plays, the law and order, if that is not in, if that is not according to what is required, then IAS, whatever he or she may do, but the law and order is something which is more important. So all of the people of the services have to work in tandem, and their services has to be made quite clear in the minds of the people, and that eliteness has to be removed.
Because finally the IAS is the boss.
That is the
he becomes the cabinet secretary.
That is the
Why not an IRS? Why not an IPS? Also can become a cabinet secretary. Why not an IFS?
So recently there have been some examples like so I'm not able to quote exactly right now, but I think in Bengal only there was a shift wherein a person who is not an IPS got some post which an IPS should have got.
Okay, NSA is an IPS officer, so
Always it been given to this Narayan, and he was saying when they all meet, T.N. Chaturvedi and all that, there is always a trust. Anyway, yes, Rakesh.
So, Ronak,
Yes, sir.
your second service preference is police,
Yes.
right? Can you name the CAPFs? Can you list the CAPFs?
See, Assam Rifles, ITBP, one more, I think, I'm not able to recall that.
Are there three?
So I'm not able to recall.
All right.
But these two.
Anyways, my question is, CAPFs, because they are funded by the government of India, they are better trained, they are better equipped, they are more effective than the state police services. Should we remove the state police services and make maybe state-oriented bodies of CAPFs?
So you are actually suggesting that CAPF manage the state instead of the state police?
Yes, state police, they are notorious for their lack of effectiveness, corruption, all sorts of problems are people quote about when we talk about state police, whatever state it is, Bihar police, UP police, whatever. But when we talk about CAPFs, their effectiveness, their work profile, their motivation, morale, everything seems to be better than the state police. So should we remove the state police apparatus and maybe make state units of the CAPF itself?
So it is like throwing the baby with the bathwater, because if we want to bring a change, we should not kill that thing altogether. The efficiency of CAPF is because they are sort of army, but police is which manages law and order on the ground, not on the border. So according to me, it's the replacement might not be the best solution. Rather, changes within the police system itself is what is required. Like what was mentioned in the NK Singh, like the Prakash Singh case, there were some suggestions which need to be done for the improvement of police services. I think that needs to be ingenuized in the state level, but not doing away with that altogether.
All right. What is Anthropocene?
So Anthropocene, Holocene, it's the epoch.
It's the what does it mean?
So actually the entire history of evolution of Earth has been into various categories, like the Eon, era, period, epoch. I am not able to recall the time exactly. The time.
Not the time. What is the meaning of Anthropocene?
So Anthropocene is from the word anthro. Anthro means which is done by the human. So Anthropocene actually means the change in the environment and of the earth due to human play, which can be both positive and negative, but it's more on the negative front.
More on the negative front. So if we talk about Anthropocene, we can link to the negative changes in the environment per se,
Yes.
which is amongst the biggest problems the planet is facing. Existential crisis is happening, and because of that we are looking for newer planets to migrate to.
Yes, sir.
Should we migrate to newer planets?
So what we
Well,
have.
do you see a future for humanity? Will we survive on Earth? Question number one. Question number two, do we need to migrate to a new planet?
So there have been various sci-fi fictions like Star Trek, Lost in Space. It is speaking about settling humans in that area. But again, even in those sci-fi fictions, humans are doing the same harm which we have done to Earth. So we are just changing the landscape, but again deteriorating that to again shift towards some other planet. We can't do that in eternity. According to me, it's not that we are totally doomed. We still have hope. As per the IPCC report, although the Paris agenda is not sufficient, but still the Climate Vulnerable Forum, countries like India, again the underdeveloped countries, even the least developed countries, they are following various protocols. So first of all, the initiative has to be taken both from the developed and the developing countries, and it's not that we should totally because we have done so bad, let's leave it and go somewhere else. Rather, let's clean our own space and try to live here peacefully.
Which was the latest COP that happened?
So in Madrid,
In
COP
Madrid.
25.
COP, okay. How do you assess its outcome? How is its outcome? Do you agree with that? Is it good? Is it a substantive effort which has been made, or is it simply an eyewash?
Still that Paris agenda is in limbo. The carbon credit mechanism has not been clarified, because the countries like China and India, we are claiming that let us use those carbon credits again from 2020, but the Western countries are objecting that. Various capitalist countries and protectionist countries like US, they are pulling out of the COP and Paris summit. So whatever steps are being taken, again, if the largest players are not in the picture, nothing can happen on the ground. So the funding mechanism for the underdeveloped and developing countries, that has totally been ignored. From $100 billion was mentioned, that was for 15 also, for 20 also, for 25 also. So if the ground change is not brought, just signing agendas won't work.
So how do you see India's efforts towards mitigating climate change?
So both at the institutional level and the ground level, we have taken steps. We have rather pioneered in the International Solar Alliance. We are, even in the budget, there was a mention of Urja Mitras. We are shifting to renewable energy. The plastic ban was something which we were even rewarded for. So we have taken steps, definitely. But speaking of my state, West Bengal, due to lacking cooperative federalism, we are not banning plastic. Single-use plastic. So again, that has to be ingenuized in the entire, all the states of India, and the people need to know that I don't want to use the plastic, not the government.
Okay. One last question from my side. We are entering this 21st century through digitization. It will be a digital century, and there is no looking back now. Do you see it as moving towards a utopia through which better governance, better services could be delivered, more customized products could be made, cheaper products, good quality products? Or do you see it as an Orwellian dystopia where we have a big brother kind of a state watching your every movement?
So every coin has two faces. Even before, when we were in the agrarian economy,
We'll call you in 5
everything was good as it was as Gandhiji had actually planned. But then we were not developed at that time. We are developed now, but we are lacking what Gandhiji wanted. So while we are moving to a digitized economy, we need to focus more upon digital literacy, because that is something which is lacking in India. I'm speaking for India right now. Second, the digital thefts, the cyber security measures, these are something which need to be focused. But along with that, the right to, as you told about the big brother attitude, right to privacy is the most important thing which needs to be looked into. Aadhaar and all, these are just the footsteps to a very larger picture. We need to curb that at the, just nip that to in the bud itself, so that it does not become a big problem. India is a pioneer in the 5G right now. It's just trying to be a pioneer in 5G. We cannot do away with that, because then we will be lagging behind. But we need to take some suitable measures so as to cure the problem right now itself.
Okay, Rana. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
We'll call you in 5.
Okay.
So, the subject is commerce. Anyways, when we were talking about this ISIS and all, and then we came to India about, and in that I asked you a question about radicalization.
I didn't know about that.
You just talked about one aspect. Radicalization can happen. I mean, it is happening with Hindus also. These guys who are,
Right.
firing
Yes, sir.
bullets, they are also are radicals.
Killing social activists.
Yeah, radicalization can be anything, right? Having extreme view related with religion, where religion is giving you sanctity to do whatever, or you are trying to derive, authority out of religion, which is actually not there. It can happen with anybody, and it is alleged, and it is to some extent right also, that it is happening with Hinduism also. You only talked about one.
I didn't know that, sir. Actually, I had no answer to that, sir.
You were on track. It's just that, because when you're talking about, the moment the word ISIS comes and your talk is related to Middle East and West Asia, and it will invariably come to India, because whatever is happening in that area, whether in Afghanistan or Iran, Iraq, Syria, whatever is happening there, ultimately India will get impacted, because it is closely related to its security and energy security, all kind of security, in fact. Your territorial integrity, internal security, energy security, everything. So the moment I take, because you have to be very clear about it. The moment the word radicalization comes, we are seeing a different kind of radicalization. World has witnessed different kind of radicalization that was related to Islam and whatever it is. But in India, we are seeing a different, where cultural nationalism to a highest order can also become radicalized, can produce radicalized youth.
Got it, sir.
So radicalization means taking an extreme view, which can happen to Hinduism also. That was the only negative thing. Yes, everything is fine. You have prepared well. I'm surprised that this is your first interview,
Yes, sir.
because this is your third attempt, right?
So prelims, actually I got stuck at the prelims level into first 2 attempts. So first mains and first interview.
First interview, absolutely perfect. There's absolutely nothing to worry about. Only thing is that don't be too mature. right? You shouldn't sound too mature from your age perspective. Little emotion has to be there, right? Which is there. Don't try to polish it to the level where you start talking like a 45 years old person. Somebody who is in the system may talk like that, but don't be that polished where so right now you're perfect. Don't change it. Go ahead with that. Polish whatever. I mean, you already are prepared, so I have nothing much to say.
I think I'll finish in one sentence. Home front knowledge is very good because I keep coming to Calcutta. My mother is from Calcutta, so I know very well about Calcutta and West Bengal.
Tram should be modernized.
Some modernized
It is
already done.
It is killing the roads.
Right.
Infrastructure, yeah. Physical infrastructure is pathetic in Calcutta. You see, I worked with Tata Steel and I used to be really frequent to Calcutta.
Okay.
So I have seen Calcutta in its roads. Calcutta itself needs modernization.
Yeah, that is true.
And when it comes to
Esplanade
West
and,
Bengal home front knowledge,
Charangi.
and you are all very well acquainted with the system, unlike many other candidates whom we have met, is very good. But I have a small suggestion: you can speak little slow.
So that is
A
my
bit.
problem. I have tried a lot. Right now it was very slow. As normally what I speak. So I
think
tried.
with that listeners like us or in the interview board, they will have a much clear, kind of a view about you. Otherwise, you are a very sweet speaker. I think you will definitely attract people. And the interview board, you are attracting, matlab you are getting marks, right? But I think a bit slow. Rest. Okay.
Everything is very nice. Confident young man, fluent,
Very
smart, charming, positive.
That's
All
right.
these things are there. You have an opinion on almost everything
All the
that has
topics,
been asked. And a very balanced opinion, not exactly like sir says बिल्कुल बीच में नहीं है, but you are
Mature.
you have a fair, yes, a good this thing, acceptable, logical. One small thing, if I nitpick, would be like you became too generic when you were talking about tourism should be increased, but एक दो point if you could add how exactly it would have been like. I'm just nitpicking here, but similarly de-link Islam from terrorism, एक दो steps if you can highlight
How to
ऐसे कर सकते हैं.
de-radicalize, right?
How to sensitize, how to
Otherwise,
educate,
wonderful. CAPF question I asked purposely, and your answer was very nice. I really liked that answer. So I think that will be all from my side. You'll be doing wonderfully.
Absolutely
well.
nothing to
Thank
worry
you,
about.
sir.
बहुत
Nothing to
बढ़िया,
worry.
बहुत
Go ahead.
very
Yeah.
good.
When is your interview?
The 20th of March.
Enough time, but then for that I have got suggestion then. 20th of March, factual questions might creep in. You already have prepared. Keep brushing your mains wala facts. They might ask you facts
Yes, sir.
because you're perfect on logical thing, on an opinion based questions, everything. You have an opinion on almost everything, which is commendable. They might ask you factual.
And West Bengal budget has just been, presented.
That
so
I haven't
can-
done that.
Right. I was about to ask, but I stopped. Anyway, you can prepare.
Because I thought your interview is in Feb. Now that it is in March, prepare about facts. Read about it because rest everything is anyway covered by you.
Okay.
So utilize your time, prepare facts.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Nice.
Thank you.
Have some good futuristic plan for West Bengal. It is still not considered very good cadre.
Huh.
So
Even I
something-
myself was thinking whether I should put it one number.
Yeah.
number one.
Think something good about West Bengal. How to revive West Bengal. Some concrete plan from your side. Very concrete.
Very innovative.
Stepwise.
kind of things. Yeah.
Land on agriculture, this. On population, this. On industry, this. Where industry?
Okay. Got it.
Which
Just
industry?
not generic like industry. Something like
Every-
you have given a thought. Your CA industry in Kharagpur region. Population right now, so much is the growth rate. I want to bring down to this level. For that, this steps should be taken.
Okay.
Calcutta is very congested.
What to do?
First thing, I want to go for demolition of old buildings. Roads should be, physical infrastructure should be improved. Drainage system should be improved, and this should be done. Planned second Calcutta should be planned in this region. It can be any region, But then, if you are saying that new Calcutta should be in Behala side or maybe Khidirpur side,
Then it is
then
not.
at least you should say that.
But justify that.
But you have, nobody would ask for justification. But the first thing that whether you have a concrete plan there or not.
Okay.
If you're saying I will have, Calcutta is very congested, old buildings should be, removed, physical infrastructure has to be improved, we should think about creating a new Calcutta that I think can be best in maybe Garden Reach area. It's a good area. Enough. You have given a thought. I think Calcutta has got enough logistical advantage for industry. Kharagpur has couple of companies. I think from Kharagpur till Odisha, that highway. On that highway, there can be belt of industry.
Got it.
Or from Kharagpur to Jamshedpur, there can be belt of industries related to this field. Some concrete plan. Very concrete.
Viable plans.
Viable plans. You're not preparing industrial budget for them for the country, but then at least you have given a thought. That means you should look like you know everything about West Bengal. So you have given a thought to West Bengal. So industry here, Calcutta revival here, growth, population growth rate is this much, which is the worst probably in India. I think this should be done.
Okay.
Literacy, this part should be done. There is this, exact. 3 problems, 3 solutions. 3 advantages, 3 disadvantages. If you are talking about tourism, which all places, which important places are there? So you should first just don't say tourism. You say that these places are really of historical importance, which has not been highlighted till date. I would like those places to be connected through infrastructure, physical infrastructure, and then it can be promoted as tourism spots, hotspots.
Got it, sir.
We have got such a long stretch of Ganga. Now, what is called in West Bengal? It's not called Ganga in
Hooghly.
Hooghly. So along the banks of Hooghly, maybe we can create a chain of tourism spots. Something like that. Any damn thing. You can think about it, right? So that's how some concrete idea, not like something bookish. When you were talking about West Bengal,
About
something
of my
right?
own.
Yeah, very very concrete, right?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Very nice.
Good luck.
Very nice.
Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civils Daily.